Hi, I'm Rochelle Carrington.
And I'm Ainsley. Welcome back to Tea Time with Two.
So the entire reason that we created this channel is so that we can give some insights into success as it relates to business and personal life, insights both from an adult and from a kid. So today we're going to be talking about advice.
So why do we need advice?
Well, I think that's a really interesting question. First of all, people love to give advice, right? And the reason most people love to give advice is because we all want to sound smart.
And correct.
And correct. Yes, absolutely. And the reason why we need advice is because oftentimes there's somebody else out there who has had an experience that they can give us a little bit of ideas of what might happen or mistakes that they made. And we can always learn from what somebody else has learned previous to us.
But do people always take advice?
No. I know I certainly have had times when I haven't taken advice. And I guess the real question is, why wouldn't we take advice? It's so interesting that people ask for advice and then they don't do it. And, you know, as someone who's trained and coached thousands of salespeople and business executives and CEOs and all of that, I've been asked for advice a lot. And, not everybody has always taken it.
I think they might not take it because they can't feel like their opinion is wrong. I know you've had some experience with that with your boyfriend.
My opinion is never wrong. But anyway, that's for another video. I think it's very important to listen to multiple opinions. And I didn't used to do that. I would always think my opinion was the only one that was correct. And I would just try to pound somebody into changing their mind. And now what I'm really endeavoring to do is listen to a variety of opinions, because sometimes somebody else might actually know something that you don't. And it's okay to change your opinion. But I think the other thing, Ainsley, the other reason why people don't take advice is sometimes you get advice that you don't want to hear or that you're not comfortable really executing on. And so a lot of times, if you advise someone to do something that gets them out of their comfort zone, they kind of don't want to do that. And so the reality is, if you're going to learn, you got to get out of your comfort zone, number one. And if you're going to ask for advice, take a leap of faith that that advice is going to work, and at least try it. Because what do you have to lose, right?
Yeah, so today we're actually not talking about giving advice to others, but giving advice to our past selves and our future selves.
Yes, absolutely. So what we're going to do is we've both thought about advice that I would give myself as an 11-year-old. That would be the past self. And Ainsley is going to give advice that she would give me, and we'll call me 39. And so she is going to give advice to a 39-year-old. So you want to start?
Yeah, I think I would just say, and this kind of applies to all adults, to just remember to be creative and don't forget about your imagination, because adults tend to be boring. I actually,
Thanks.
not to insult anybody, but I actually created a amusement park just out of a couple things that we have at our house. In our backyard, and I feel like just adults wouldn't do that. You have to be creative and think of stuff. If you want to build something and you don't have the materials, just improvise, use different materials.
Yeah, and the amusement park was pretty amazing. I got to go on all the different rides. Just explain, one of the rides that you came up with, or one of the activities that you came up with, because it was pretty cool.
Oh, I actually used a ladder and a little workout thing that she has, and some step stools and a little cushion to make a slide.
And it was a very steep slide. It was like this.
Meant to be like. It was
super steep, slightly scary. We had to climb up on the ladder and then slide down a stepper. It was one of those exercise steppers, and then land on cushions that were on the ground. And It was very interesting and nobody broke any legs or bones, so that was quite good. But that is the type of thing that an adult would never think of. They'd be like, well, if I don't have a real slide, then,
Also,
forget about it.
About the imagination and creativity, I made a slip and slide actually, but we don't have a slip and slide. I just got a tarp and just got it wet, and that works. And I actually put a boogie board on there so it makes it slide, so you can slide more easily. And yeah,
that was super fun. Scary?
And we all
but
had
fun.
everything. We had the boogie board from like going to the beach. We had the tarp. I don't know why, but yeah, so it just works. And it was just hose water.
Okay, so first thing is adults need to remember to be creative, stay creative, and use our imagination. We forget that. Remember when, we used to play with stuff, make a box into an airplane. And now adults at a certain point kind of lose that a little bit. So I think that's a very important piece of advice, especially you've got to be imaginative when it comes to business. The only way to problem solve is to think creatively. And, one of the ways to stay creative is to keep learning. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. What's another piece of advice you have for
I think just
my
to
39-year-old self?
Keep having fun, I guess, and playing, because probably you had a ton of childhood games that you probably forgot about and don't play anymore. I know that I have some of my favorite games, like board games and video games. So I want to remember how fun those were and keep playing them. Just work, it's not all about work. Just make time for fun and family, friends.
Yeah, I think
not during the coronavirus. Well, maybe family, but social distancing.
Fun still. But yeah, I think sometimes I can get super focused on all the tasks I've got to do. And then Ainsley will come and say, hey, can we go play this? Can we play that? And I kind of sheepishly admit a lot of times I'll be like, well, I have to finish this first, or let me get this done. And then, sometimes time runs out and then we don't get to do it. So one of the things...
and actually in one of your other videos, you guys can check that out on her channel, you talked about how you kept working so many hours and working at night.
Yeah.
So you guys can check out that video.
Yeah, that's all about productivity, and there's a lot of videos on that. So 2 very good pieces of advice. Do you have anything else for adults that adults should remember? Or that you want to remind yourself when you're 39?
I don't really think so.
Okay, I think those are good. So here's, as a 39-year-old, what I would tell my 11-year-old self. Number 1, I think I can summarize it all in kind of what is my motto, which is laugh a lot, learn a lot. And that is just, those are my 2 goals in life. That's it. Because if you're laughing a lot and you surround yourself with people who make you laugh, who have fun with you, who can joke around, that kind of ties into your whole concept about playing, right? And I think sometimes, we just need to remember through life, just get people who have fun, and it's okay to be silly and not worry really about what other people think about you. Because another piece of advice would be, everything passes. When we're kids, we think everything is a big, gigantic deal. And whatever someone thinks about us right now is going to stay that way for the rest of our lives. And as you get older, you know that everything passes by, and the big deals today are nothing 6 months from now. There's always a better day.
Yeah, and that actually makes me think of another one to tell 39-year-old. Probably just to take chances, like how we talked about a ropes course.
Yes.
In one of the other ones, just take chances. Like if you're afraid, a ropes course that we go to, there's a thing where you're connected to a cord and you just slide off a platform and swing back and forth. So just like do it.
I hated doing that one so badly. That might be a video for another time, explaining how I wimped out and then had to get back up because I didn't want to show my kids a bad example of fear taking over, which it totally did at that point. And then I finally got back up and did it, but it was horrifying. The other thing is learn a lot. I think that as kids, you have to learn a lot because you're basically forced to go to school. And so, your teachers are telling you what to learn. But I think being curious and questioning things. Although if you questioned everything I said, that'd probably drive me crazy. But at the same time, it's a really important thing to do, to not just take what people say without digging deeper into it and deciding if you have that same belief. That's really, really important.
Yeah, like you don't have to read a nonfiction book, like it could be about frogs or anything like that, just because there's an assignment for school to do that. Just do it for fun. You can find something that you're interested in, and it can be pretty interesting. So if you like frogs, read a nonfiction frog book, you know?
Yeah. And just find through your whole life, learn different crazy things. I think it's about becoming kind of a Renaissance person, somebody who knows a lot of things. So I have taken ballroom dancing, I've taken French, I take a gazillion courses. I'm probably like a learning junkie, I think. I've done hypnosis, which I never would have thought I would do when, I was younger. But all of these things, they give you different experiences and they give you different skill sets. And some of them you're going to love and some of them you're going to not love so much. But you've got to constantly learn. Do not veg out in front of Netflix or the video games or any of that, because as I tell Ainsley all the time, TV rots your brains and makes you stupid.
Yeah, so I think these kind of relate, like what you would tell a younger self and what you would tell your older self.
Very true.
Because like I said, like taking risks, and you said just joining clubs, like take the risk, join the club.
Right, absolutely. So I think those are our great pieces of advice to the younger self and the older self. And what I would do and suggest is pick out, what is the advice that you would be telling yourself? If you were 11 and you're sitting, in your body as a 39-year-old or however old you are right now, what would your 11-year-old self tell you? And if you're 11, what would your adult self tell you about what is going on in your life right now? And take that advice, because there's really, really good gems there.
Yeah, so if you're younger, you can actually try this activity and write down a couple things you would want to tell your old self. You can use some of mine if you want. And just write that down just anywhere, but in a journal that you could keep with you. So then when you're older, you can look at it and see oh, that's actually good advice from a little kid.
And if nothing else, you're going to crack up like crazy when you see it as an older adult. And it reminds you of how cool you were when you were younger.
Yeah.
All right.
So I guess that's it. Laugh a lot, learn a lot.
Bye.